such as compactness, the using of green materials, connecting functions and flows, making good comfort, and stimulating the ecology. With these aspects, a smart combination of all these aspects make a real sustainability with respect of our planet. Compactness, a more compact building like this ship interior uses less space and uses less energy. Reducing the volume and making an efficient form uses less material, less facades, and less building space. For example, our restaurant in Rotterdam, it's a Japanese and Chinese restaurant stacked on each other. One plot, 2 restaurants, and on top there's a green roof. Our greenhouses project in Culemborg, the house is very compact, and the greenhouse space around, the roof terrace and the covered gardens give an extra living space. Green materials. This is another important aspect in sustainability. We use wood frames on FSC wood from sustainable foresting as a bio-based building material. And we use loam as a bio-based stucco. It's a covering which buffers temperature and moist. We build with materials. We build these materials and use them in a way in which you can take them out of each other again and reuse them as a product or as a raw material. We make harvest maps to search for building materials in the neighborhood of the building site, and to reduce transportation, and of course to activate social activity around the building site. Building inside the greenhouse gives the possibility to make a building like furniture. Without rain and wind, you can use other materials and other finishings, like softwood windows, softwood paneling, no wood covering, roof covering, and so on. Connecting flows and functions is another aspect of sustainability, like the swimming pool connected to the rest heat of a power plant. The worldwide energy use is 55 hectajoules. Together with all the conversion losses, it demands 475 hectajoules primary energy in 2005. By reuse of energy, by connecting flows and different functions, here the picture isn't there, we can make a much more effective system. In Rotterdam, we are now making a loop with high pressure steam to connect power plants and to connect them with different factories. For the waste heat, there's another connection to the city and to the greenhouses. One of my students made a proposal for a thermal bath, and the thermal bath is in a power plant. In the Culemborg project, we use the sun to produce heat and the electricity in the skin of the greenhouse, and we reuse water and rainwater. And of course, the residents produce their own food in the greenhouses and in the common gardens. And next to our housing project, there's a pumping station for the drink water. We use the temperature difference and pump it up with a heat pump. This we use for low energy, low temperature heating and cooling in the housing. Comfort. Comfort is in and around the building is another important issue on sustainability, like the right ventilation, like a good visual comfort, like a good acoustic atmosphere, thermic comfort and a hydraulic comfort, and of course a good air quality made by natural non-toxic materials and by a good ventilation. By using the right materials, bio-based, non-toxic, thermal and hydric accumulating, we create healthy and comfortable spaces with green air and light. With the greenhouse houses, we connect inside and outside and bring the garden inside the houses. Around the houses are private and common gardens for relaxing, playing, growing vegetables, and of course for a better air quality. Ecology, to strengthen the biodiversity, is an important aspect of sustainability. We make green roofs and green facades to attract more animals and make a greener atmosphere. Also, by incorporating nests in the skin of the building, we attract more animals and birds. And by creating green surroundings, we stimulate the biodiversity. As an associate professor, I started the SUS ateliers a couple of years ago. I work with 30 to 50 students in an atelier studio setting. I teach them to manage the wide spectrum of sustainability. We work in inspiring old harbor buildings around the River de Maas, and in different ateliers we work on designing and building prototypes of sustainable solutions. Behind the atelier there will be a concept house village with prototype buildings such as our projects CHIP, EcoBioCas and CHIP Plus. CHIP Plus is a multifunctional building concept with offices on the north side and stepped apartments, 3 maisonette layers on the south side. In between there is a big atrium where there's room for a supermarket, a school and so on. In this building we want to connect functions and flows like rest heat, water, ventilation and so on. We took a part of this CHIP building, we took a part of this building to build as a prototype. This is only 1 maisonette and 2 floors of working space with in between a small atrium. We use only green materials such as prefab wood frames, reused foundation and steel beams, loam stucco and green facades. We make a second skin as a thermic buffer where we produce vegetables and which is an extra living space. Because there's no rain or wind, we can build the main house with simple green materials like loam and softwood again. We connect functions and flows, functions like living and working, and we connect flows like the reuse of water, like an eatable roof, and the heat of the sun to make electricity and warm water, buffered in a paraffin boiler for the heating and the warm water supply. I have just started the building of all the prefab elements, and this summer we will build this prototype. When the building is finished, we start with a 4 years program of research and measurements. Another atelier works on a retrofit concept house called EcoBioCas. This, the existing north facade will be covered with insulation, extra glazing and a green facade. It's here. The roof will be a green roof, and on the south side a greenhouse and a new facade will connect the inside and the outside. Students are also involved in international projects like this one in Ghana. They did a project for a build-it-your-own house with prefab bamboo elements. 2 years ago, we designed a sustainable social housing project on the island Sal of the Cape Verde, where we use bamboo and pressed clay stones, new building materials that now are manufactured on the island. In another atelier, we designed a self-supporting floating house in Rotterdam. The energy machine works with photovoltaic cells and heat pipes, and it has a backup with electric batteries of the electric car. In 2011, we did a project on Poosje Quito in Aruba. Students designed a multifunctional access to bring more connection, employment, identity, and proudness in a small town. Poosje Quito is just south of Oranjestad. They researched the surroundings, and in Poosje Quito there are 3 parts of developed neighborhoods, and there are 3 parts of neighborhoods which still has to be developed, and they are separated by roads and interstate. This is one of the neighborhoods, Sobana Basora, and another neighborhood is the southeast and the beautiful beach, the Pariba. Students did research on the existing spots, like in the north, the beautiful Spanish Lagoon, like the green in the southeast, and like the beautiful beach, a fishing harbor, and an empty factory. They also made a list of buildings and places, important buildings and places like a school, the big baseball field, and of course the beautiful beach again. Their aim was to focus on community and identity by creating more employment, meeting places, and spatial quality. Their solution was to make a promenade that connects part of the town and the beach. It's the yellow line here. They also introduced the Poosje Quito forest, connecting the green with the Spanish Lagoon. That's the green line. And the promenade and the forest will make a strong connection between the several parts of the Poosje Quito, and there will be more biodiversity, more shadow, sports like walking and cycling. There will be a market, wood production, and the town will get a stronger identity. Along the axis, there will be shops, restaurants, city services, and houses. Here are some impressions. The inspiring examples have been the Avenida da Liberdade in Lisbon, the Ramblas in Barcelona, and the Parc de Sarriera in Palma. Last year, we did a second project in Poosje Quito, and it was a housing project next to the axis. Students worked individually on a master plan. After that, they put the different plans together. The location is next to the forest and the promenade in Poosje Quito. It's just north of the school, and it's about 200 meters long. It's over here, this spot. They designed a neighborhood with 50 houses and services along the promenade. They made different design layers, like a layer of mobility, green and recreation, climate and wind, surfaces like the market, the surroundings, the energy, and the water layer. Deep sea water was used for cooling and drinking water. There is a pipeline from the sea under the promenade connecting all the neighborhoods. The cold water, oh here also the picture is not good. The cold water is cooling the houses, then it is heated in collectors on the roof, then it's condensing in the water pyramid. used as a drink water and reused as grey water for the forest. Cooling the ventilation air for these houses is done in a bubbling cylinder which is filled with cold seawater. The total plan of the neighborhood. We try to make a compact solution, not a new villa neighborhood. The housing block, also this picture is not okay. The housing block is a compact row of 5 houses. Every house is 8 by 8 meters. The half of the 8 by 8 meters is built and the half is only roof covered. Only the sleeping rooms are cooled. Other rooms have natural ventilation by the trade winds. The roof is double with natural ventilation in between. It reflects the sun and it provides shadow for the whole house. The houses are built out of wood from the Poes-Chiquito forest. In this short presentation, I wanted to give an impression on the different aspects of sustainability in order to create high quality of architecture. Thank you very much.
All right, our next speaker, Anne Witzenberg, Director of Monuments Funds. The goal of the Aruba Monuments Foundation is to acquire, restore, maintain, and rent out monuments. It also aims to raise public awareness about cultural heritage, and the foundation does all of this in a sustainable way. Mrs. Witzenberg has worked for engineering firms, municipalities, and real estate firms, specializing in restoration. In the beginning of 2011, she founded and still holds the position of Director of Witzenberg and de Jong BV, working on projects and providing advice to various organizations in the field of education, healthcare, and government. Ladies and gentlemen, Anne Witzenberg.
Thank you, Rafi. Your Excellency, ladies and gentlemen, buon tardi, good afternoon. Thank you for inviting me to the organizing committee, as we are the only foundation in between all those businesses and government deputies. So we hold quite a special position. This afternoon, I'd like to tell you about the role of monuments in city renewal and the way Monuments Fund handles this role. And after introducing the fund, I would like to tell you 4 stories. I won't have long sheets, and then give you the conclusion of my speech. Since the people who are here that are not from Aruba may not know the Monument Fonds Aruba, I would like to introduce our foundation. The fund was started in 1996, and it was a government foundation, mainly depending on subsidies of the government. As right now, we're almost independent and not getting any subsidies anymore. We own 6 buildings, of which the City Hall downtown, 7 objects, which are buildings that we cannot rent out, but special historic graveyards, for example. We have 5 people in our personnel. Part of my team is here this afternoon, including our intern, who really, really helped me set up this presentation, and also my board member is actually here in the room with us today. And we also have 3 volunteers, of which we are really proud. As Rafi already told you, our mission is to purchase, renovate repurpose, manage, maintain, and preserve the monuments of Aruba. Not all of them, but part of it. And in our vision, we look for finance, build awareness, and focus on sustainability. So why are we here? Europe meets the Americas. We're here because we think that we are the hub. We have the shared history of the Americas and the Netherlands combined here on Aruba, which is visible in our monuments. We have architecture. My own office is in a building from 1920, which was inspired by Colombian architecture. We also have beautiful examples of Dutch architecture here on Aruba, combinations next to authentic Aruban architecture. We use knowledge from both the continents, crafts. Tourists come from everywhere to see what we're doing, and the economic development could be huge. For example, Aruba still has some 300, 400 monuments that are still undeveloped. Imagine if we are trying to develop those in the next 10 years, what economic impact that could have on education, on raising funding, on the building and construction companies. And last but not least, sustainability is one of the very best examples. Some of the old buildings, as Galina was telling us before the break, we can learn from the ventilation, use of old techniques in the buildings, and we can still use them today. So this was the short introduction of my fund. I will now give you 4 short stories. The first story is about the Casa Rosada, the Red House. It's located in Oranjestad at Wilhelminastraat, and we as a fund were approached and connected to the owners via the real estate broker. And brokers are really important for us because they are our ears and eyes to see whether monuments coming to the market could be getting a new function or a new owner. So we met up with the people from Casa Rosada, and in this picture you can see why it was called Red House, because the color used to be red. It was built in 1904. The picture obviously is from a later date as you look at the cars. And it was a beautiful building. It has some statue. Today we have a completely different view. The Red House is now blue. There are parts of it still red, but you cannot see them from the street. And the day I walked in, plants had to be removed from the trees and the walls to get entrance to the building. It's in a terrible state. The terrible state is mainly because the owners are all in a discussion what to do with the building. And in the meantime, the building gets down. So one of our goals in raising awareness is also in raising awareness of the people who own these buildings to just stop the dilapidation of these buildings. Try to preserve them as is while waiting for a new function. This is the front of the building, just from the way you saw earlier, the red one. What we would like to do is just stand on the balcony with our backs to the building and look at the view. You can look at all Wilhelminastraat, filled, stacked with monuments, waiting for new life. In the background you see Hooiberg. It's the most beautiful view. When you look the other way, in the back you see Renaissance. It's so close by to the city center, and tourists hardly come here. We need to attract them, and the tramway will be a great way to get people deeper into the city and to recognize that so many beautiful buildings are there. When we look at the back, it's almost even more terrible. Only 2 apartments are rented out at this moment. But when we look 1 street further, in the same block, you see all these small Kunuku houses that are still there. When you stand on the balcony on the back, you can see the sea. And when you go to the top floor, don't go there now because there are dead pigeons and stuff, and it's not really a nice place to be. But if you restore it, this would be your view. It would be fantastic. So together with the owners, we start to think, what can we do? What could be a good purpose Is it possible not to just develop the building, but develop the surroundings as well, include the whole block, the whole area, and see what the potential is of this? Maybe Monuments Fund would like to purchase buildings, but we don't have all the funding to do that. So we also like to interest people to invest in monuments because we think they are the future. And I go too fast because the one thing I would like to tell you about this building is that the day that we came in and we took away all the plans to reach the top floor, the people started to telling me about the building, about the value, about what they wanted to get in florins or dollars. But they also, as we got further, told me about the history of the building, about the history not very long ago. The last tenant that got out got angry because he had to leave, set the house on fire. But he also told me about the big cistern that's there, the regenbak, that collected all the water. And the water was used in the house to wash and to water the garden, but also for the production of aloe, which is really important for Aruba. And then they started telling stories about how when they were small, they got into the building and saw all those large copper pans in which the aloe was prepared, was left to dry, cut into big pieces, and then brought to the harbor and sold all over the world. That are the stories that we want to keep, and whoever or whomever might buy this building and redevelop it should cherish that historic value. It's not a value in a money wise, but it is historic and cultural value that we should be proud of again here on Aruba. The second story takes us to San Nicolas, mentioned earlier before by almost all of the speakers. Big part of city renewal from the government part, and we like to focus on the Nicolas family and the Nicolas store, which go back a long time. And how did we get there? Well, first, we restored the water tower of San Nicolas, which has a twin brother here in Oranjestad. It was like this Art Deco design from 1939. It was used for a long time to get the water, to collect the water, and people got there to pay their water bills. Then last year, when I arrived on the island, I saw this. And a few days later, restoration started. And just 2 months ago, we delivered this. It's restored to its former glory, and the whole of San Nicolas and Aruba can enjoy the water tower again. But we didn't stop there. As with the Casa Rosada, we go stand with our backs to the building and look what's there more. And if you go down the street, which was called Tower Street, it now has a different name, there's the Nicolas store. It's just one story about a family owning a business, selling newspapers, magazines, and all kinds of stuff. And what we found as we approached the family, we were allowed to go into the building, and we found a beautiful interior. Even the little bags in which stamps were sold were still there, but still laying there. Unfortunately, the roof is coming down at this moment. And it has a big emotional value for the family as well. So we were very honored that they are willing to sell the building, not for commercial purposes, but they are willing to sell it to their Monument Fund. And yeah, so that's a big step for the family to transfer it, but we'll make sure that it will be restored and given new life. And why do we do this? Because of the surroundings. As I showed you, the water tower is just a few hundred meters away. The government is working on city renewal. New rotonde is being made in front of the building. All of the pavements, street lights, everything is renovated and built anew. There's a big wall in front of it that separates this part of San Nicolas to the refinery. The wall will be taken down and we'll have a beautiful view to the sea again. So I'll share with you some of the amazing things that we found as we first entered the building some 2 months ago. All the old tiles are there, the stairs are there. The old cabinets are there. Even the old advertisements from Aruba Bank are there, and if you look really closely on the doors, they're still written all the telephone numbers for their clients. So we should try and keep that and make that as new. The third story is not one of city renewal, but it's part of our heritage. It's California Lighthouse. It is a landmark with great touristic value. As the last two buildings I showed you have emotional values to the families, this building has touristic value, and big touristic value. And it's a symbol of the maritime history of Aruba. The California Lighthouse was built after a ship wrecked on the north coast, and everybody said, now it's time to get a lighthouse on Aruba. So this October 8th, it will be 100 years ago that Curacao, in that time, granted Aruba the right to build a lighthouse. This is how it looked in the 1930s. It's a real beautiful building, standing there alone in the wind. And this is how it looks today. And especially the top part, if you look very carefully, it's made of concrete and steel, and it's rusting, and some pieces are starting to fall down right now. That's not the way we would like to see it. This was the first time we got on there, and the last time for me, because it's too scary to get on again. It's completely rusted. You see the pieces of concrete being torn down. And we also met up with, on the left side, Mr. Fingal, the son of the last watchman of the lighthouse, who just combined all his stories and memories and facts about the lighthouse. And within the next few months, all his stories will be published in a book. And we hope that the start of the restoration of the lighthouse can go hand in hand with the old stories that it has, to even put more value into the building. Next to him is his nephew, and they used to live in the guard's house next to the lighthouse, which is now a restaurant. And to show you the spin-off of this project, which is no more than paper at this moment, the restaurant already took down some of the extra buildings that they made surrounding the old house, and now you can see the facade of the house where these people used to live. They tell the story in the menu when you go there and have dinner. First page is the story of the lighthouse, and that's what we like to see. Just last month, the Minister of Infrastructure agreed for us as a monument fund to transfer the ownership from the government of Aruba to the Stichting Monumentenfonds, and we also found funds to restore it, and the building will be open for public to visit, and with the entrance fee that we will have, we can maintain and manage the site. So we created a master plan, which not only includes the restoration of the tower, but also the whole surroundings, the road from Arashi to the tower, the entrances, the tourist facilities, everything, but the restoration is the first point. And we had to think of some things to make it safe, a safe place for tourists to go up. And it's a pity because right now it's closed. Nobody can see the most beautiful views of Aruba, which are there. So we had the designer helping us, working with nets. Like the Eiffel Tower has nets to prevent people from falling or getting pushed over the edge. And we just looked at the whole area and saw what we can do and improve, because we don't just look at the building there. And the last story I'd like to show to you is the story of Rancho. It's the origin of Oranjestad. It's the old fisherman's neighborhood, oldest commercial neighborhood of the city, and it's an old harbor area. This is what it used to look like. This is in the old days, the Rancho. And then it is not more than 3 years ago that the Archaeological Museum had an exposition called Rancho. It was their first temporary exposition because the Archaeological Museum is based in Rancho, in a beautiful monument, I might say. And at that point, the Rancho Foundation was established, and then they came to Stichting Monumentenfonds, and they said, okay, there's a big lime kiln. It's one of our 6 objects, as I mentioned, or 7 objects that we own. Next to graveyards, we also own a lime kiln. Don't know what to do with it. Right now I do, but then I didn't know. And they said, hi, so when will you restore our lime kiln? It's yours, you're the owner, restore it. And I don't have the funds. So what we did, this is the lime kiln for everybody who never seen that one. It's in a terrible state. It looks terrible, it isn't working anymore. But the whole area is surrounded, literally packed with monuments. If you look here, here's the Archaeological Museum. The tramway runs just in front of the museum. And we said, well, let's sit down. We invited several parties from the government, from DOW, Belbario, Rafi was there, and from the social housing foundation, anybody who was interested. And we invited them to look at the surroundings of the lime kiln. And we found out that this is a monument, this is a monument, this is a monument. Right here we have another monument at this point, and here we have a very ugly, modern 3-story high building. And we started a project, and it's our no-cost project. We don't have a low-cost project, we have a no-cost project. We just started thinking and telling people what can we do, and if we start making a solution, how should we go on with this? And the whole project is based around 3 pillars. It's not just the buildings, it's not just the infrastructure on which the government is working really, really hard, but it's also the social, economical pillar. So together with people from healthcare, how do you call it, addiction care, social workers, police, University of Aruba. I cannot mention all the 25 people or organizations who participate. We made a plan, and in a few weeks we will launch the plan completely and show what's going on. But we don't stop there, because as this area is packed with monuments, so is the area behind it and in front of it. And is the relation of the old fishermen's neighborhood to the sea and to the harbor. So we have to find a way to reconnect, because in the 1930s, land was extended, this whole part didn't exist. It was added, and the whole connection between the old fishermen's area and the old harbor was demolished. So via routes, we can try and get that back. Buy property in the right place, restore it, show people that it can be done, that new functions can be given, and at that point, even other investors will get interested in following us. And like many other cities in the world, the old fisherman's neighborhood could be a funky new part of town that's interesting for residents as well as tourists and other visitors. So, in conclusion, instead of just waiting in our office for funds, we go out there, make plans, we listen to the stories, we knit them together. We call this the grandmother method. We knit them together, and the new knitwear get a new place. We build our network. We connect to the tourism authority, to the ports authority, to finance, to infrastructure, to educational partners, but also to real estate brokers, to building companies, architects, you can name it. We receive information and think of potential projects. Then we try to gain the new projects, impress people by making presentations and showing them the possibilities. Sometimes really active, sometimes on request. People start asking us, can you please look at my building? And sometimes passively. Just a few weeks ago, someone walked into my office and asked me to do a project, the old Jewish graveyard of the city. And he's a tourist. He just walked in, said, I'd like to help out. Then we create a master plan, and master plan is a big word, and in some cases it is a master plan, and in some cases it's small, but it's still looking at different perspectives of the redevelopment of the building of the area. We try to create new possibilities, invite all kinds of people to think with us, to create new value, and in the end, create new history. Then we prepare for execution. We try to find investors, financiers, and we look also at the maintenance and management side of it, because if we restore and then forget about the building, then in 20 years we have the same problem. We execute the master plan, and then we have the aftercare. Some of the buildings are still owned by us, so we are the landlord, and we have to collect rent and maintain the building. But also education is really important. Try to get the history, the stories that we find out to the young people of Aruba again. PR and marketing, of course, is important, and that's the way we raise new contacts. And then the circle is back to its beginning, our network building and starting new projects. So, in very short, we don't just focus on restoration. And many people are thinking like this. 2 weeks ago, I was at the Restoration Nationale Restauratiebeurs in Holland. And there was a big discussion, and they said, well, in 2 years, this fair is not supposed to be called Restoration Fair anymore. We should call it Repurposing Fair, herbestemming, get a new function for old buildings. But we would like to get one step further and say, no, we have to get an integral, multidisciplinary collaboration. Because only together we can dream, inspire, and actually make a difference. Thank you.
Anna did such a wonderful job of helping all of us to understand how important it is to have a monument foundation. I don't know if all countries in the world have one, but if you don't, I have to say that you may want to look into that. One of the projects that she highlighted was the water tower in St. Nicholas, and I had the pleasure and the honor of being at the inauguration of that particular monument. And I have to say, as a native of St. Nicholas, my family are all from that end of the island, it just filled our hearts with so much joy and so much pride to see that monument restored. And when the folks that live on that end of our island drive to St. Nicholas at night, and as they get closer and they see the lights running up the side of the water tower, it just instills this sense of happiness. So we really do thank the Monumentum Funds for what you do. Thank you. Thank you. So our last speaker of the afternoon is Mr. Glenn Godin. And Mr. Godin is a designer who actually works with us. He is one of the members of the Ministry of Integration, Infrastructure, and Environment with our Minister Seefinger. And Mr. Godin studied at the Design Academy in Eindhoven, and he finds it challenging to solve complex problems in the field of spatial development. He also has expertise at all levels, from a conceptual level to a detailed and workable design level. He works both in urban as well as non-urban environments, in town planning, public spaces, and in natural landscapes. By highlighting the unique identity of a place and adding a cohesive element in the spatial, social, and economic sustainability fields, Mr. Godin seeks for the timeless chemistry that the sum of the individual components strengthens. His motto is 1 + 1 + 1 is more than 3. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Godin.
Thank you. Thank you for the introduction. Aruba is actually, as you already have seen, kind of a candy store for designers. we have a lot of projects going on, and it's very challenging to work here. I think that's why Daan is here as well. It's not just the love for the minister, of the prime minister, but also for our projects. When I came to Aruba, the prime minister asked me if I wanted to have a look at the side streets. Side streets. I will first show you the first slide. Side streets. What are side streets? I was thinking, okay, if you have a closer look at Aruba, you see that it has a very horizontal alignment. Also, Oranjestad is very horizontal. All the streets actually go through from one side to the other side. So the other streets, the vertical streets, are the side streets. After doing several other projects, one of them was the Green Corridor, and what else? Main Street Furniture. I got my hands free to work more on the side streets, and I call it Aruba Enlightened. Now I was thinking, if I say something for Aruba Enlightened at this Europe Meets Americas, what is this hub about? Huh? And if I look at Aruba and why it's so exciting for me to be here, is that we have internet, and it is indeed about connecting. But for me as a designer, it's also about connecting. I try to connect so much with the social field, the spatial, the economics, and the marketing. If you combine all those things together, you shake a bit, you really get a good chemistry, where I'm being introduced with. And this chemistry really makes something more than just the ingredients. That's a good cook as well, of course. So I'm going to take you on a tour. I'm not going to talk a lot. I'm going to show you one of the ideas, one of the projects we work on right now. And I want you to be interactive with it. I want you to go and let yourself go and see if you see something which you would be able to participate or to adopt. It's called the Enlightened Tour. Okay. This is the first phase I'm going to show you. And we want to expand it to a wider part of Aruba. So the linear park will be part of it. The airport will be part of it. And, but that's the second phase. As I said, we have this Oranjestad, and these are the most horizontal lines, as I said. So we have to do something about it. If you want to make a city livable and pleasurable, and that people want to stay in the city, you have to have also vertical lines to get this circulation and use of space. So I'm not going to show all the access and possible walking routes, but I'm going to focus on one, and that's the light tour, and that's the blue one here. Here we already see a little of a sneak preview. This was during the Christmas. We used LED light above the tram lines in the main street. So it's the first sneak. This is Oranjestad, part of it, the downtown area. And here we see a first light dot, and it's it's already existing. And the designer of it, or the artist of it, she's in front of us. She's Osira Muyales, yeah. And this is her project. It's with neon. It's on the boulevard, and it's very visible. All the tourists see it. It's very attractive. It's beside the bestuurskantoor, as we call it. But that's an easy one. I mean, it's very good, but we want more, of course, with this enlightened tour. We see a second dot. And this is a bit disturbing perhaps, but this is one of the projects with one of the owners of the houses in Aruba. His name is Milton Harms. He's very collaborative. He helps us. And he knows about this axis. And he took a building away to make it more clear what Aruba in the future can be about. So he opened the city for us a bit. Now this wall is one of the spaces which I want to use for this enlightened tour. And we're going to use, actually tonight, neon glow paint, and the students from the Retail Academy, which are introduction students, they have made today their first mural, which is part of the first step of the enlightened tour. And tonight, for some of you who are invited, you can add something too. You can be participating within this mural. I have a second dot, a third dot, sorry Dan. This is a Dan's dot, or light point. It's also part of the linear park. I don't have the pictures. I thought Dan would show off a bit with, or you did, Dan? You showed some, so now we have the fourth dot. That's the Rietveld Academy itself. I'm also coordinator, so I'm promoting it a bit. And the owner, this is the building. He, as I said, he invests, and he really wants to make the inner city better as well. It's going to enlighten it like this. This is more a classic way. It's not like interactive art like Dan or a light object, but it's of course a total different idea, and it really improves the inner city. It's a good example. And we've got a fifth dot. That was it. And this is actually the starting point of the tour, future tour. 2 days ago, was it 2 days ago? Right? We walked this tour already to have a look. And the tour is not about, it's not what you already see or where you want to go, because that's easy, that's very easy for people. Now what I want with this tour, what we want with this tour, is to invite people to the bits and the parts where they normally won't come, so that they can discover and experience the city. And this bit is the first step of it. Some architects, this is the bestuurskantoor, the new bit which Benny already told about, the Minister of Infrastructure. It also emphasizes this light tour. The beams which you see, they will get neon light inside, and there will be a halo glow from left to right. So when you walk the tour, you not just see the bits which I'm going to show, but there are several other projects which give this tour its body. This is a very important other point. As we've seen that we have a tram, this is the end point where the tram stops. And this light tour, which it makes sense when you see all the dots, this is the last stop. Not only from the train, but also from the light tour. And this building will get digital graffiti as seen before. And this is what the owner already is going to do. This is already, he brought the equipment, and this is called digital graffiti. So this building, this facade, this front will get this type of light experience. But it's not just, the end point is not just a light experience. People will be able to have a drink and eat and come together. And then they also can take the tram back to their hotels or to their houses. This is an important building as well. When you saw this X, where this building was taken away, one of the first images, when you look from that point, you see this building. So we're going to use this building as well, and we'll propose this type of light, so that the upper levels get several colors. This is the CEO, future CEO building. It's not renovated yet. This is a government building, so it's easy. I also want to use it for a light as a light object, and we have this beautiful lagoon. And here we have an example how this works. So it's very easy, and you have a real nice experience. Now, all those light objects or art pieces or however you call it, it's not just decoration. It's about to interact with people. So we also invite all the local artists, besides Dan, of course, but he's the experienced one, but the local artists to participate, and we will announce hoe noem je dat? Een wedstrijd? Competition, thank you. Competition to participate, and we will choose the best ideas from it. This is the lagoon, future lagoon. Perhaps dance crystals inside or something, waterproof. This is another building. I heard they want to tear it down. I think it's a waste. It's really nice, but it needs a little bit of light, of course. This is the lagoon. Now cars parked there, which is not really a good quality. And more kind of solid objects could be used. And here you can see these are water tanks, just with light inside, very easy. So we're not talking about very expensive projects. It can be also very simple, but smart and light. This is the Suikertuin. This is also private property. Someone restored it, and I spoke with them, and they also want to invest. So we're going to do something with light on front of it. And there are also very traditional small houses. They tell a story of the past. If we can phrase that with this light, for example, storytelling, it becomes a very romantic setting at night. Oh, goes too fast. And you can imagine. Now I'm going to do the trick Dan does. Why it goes a bit slower. You can phrase the story in the past with just a bit of light. And this is right now. It's really ridiculous, really crazy. This is actually the best part of the monument. This is the Fort Zoutman, and it's, as you can see, right now it's a bit backside and here. But I've got a fantastic solution for backsides. Can you see what this is? It's a garbage bin, but it's a romantic chair. Yeah. So you can meet each other in the future. Yeah. Oh, sorry, go a bit too fast. I don't know what happened here, but it's easy to lose. We use glow paint and a laser, and you can write poetry on this wall. It becomes something totally different. You see the dots are the light. It's getting enlightened already. One more. This is the police office. It's a very central point within this light tour. You can orientate yourself all around Oranjestad because it's very high, here and here. So if someone has a solution for this one, come to me, because I don't know yet what I want to put on the police office. I see you smiling. Yeah? This is Anna, the oldest building, oldest house, exactly. So this needs a bit of enlightenment too. It's also very it's very central on the tour. Perhaps something like this. And as you can see, these are not especially expensive or technical difficult solutions. There are many solutions. So this is the preferred tour, and I hope we can realize this very soon. And so it's not just for fun or decoration, as I said. It's an invitation to locals and tourists to explore their inner city, and also for investors to participate. Once you see a lot of people coming by, seeing this program at night, because during the day most people are on the beach or at work. Yeah. At night it's cool, and so there's really something else to do, and we really have this. It's really an addition. Okay, I hope I enlightened you a bit with this presentation. Thank you, and I am approachable for if you have any ideas of any suggestions, or if you want to participate and adopt one of the proposed places or buildings. Thank you.
Thank you very, very much, Glenn. Okay, so as promised, we're not going to skip anything. We're going to go into a nice panel discussion, and that's why I want to invite Minister Sievinger. Hand of applause, please. Mr. Rosengaarden. Mrs. Tachiva, no, you're not Tachiva, you're Witzenberg. Where's the applause, guys? Come on, come on. And Mr. Karstenberg, please join us on the stage. Okay, we're almost at the end of the day, guys, but please, I know that you have seen a lot of nice things today. Me personally, what I saw today, when I saw Dan, for example, I wrote down art imitates life, life imitates art, but now it kind of changes into art and life become one. And as I've seen all the other people talking today, I've seen that this kind of symbiotic relationship between art and the tech and the art in the biggest sense, combined with technological aspects and sustainability. Yes, I will go up the stage. Has been a recurring line in this event. Okay, so we're gonna go start with questions. All right. Okay, so yes. Okay, so we're gonna start with Minister Sievinger. Yes. What is one of the biggest challenges you have encountered during to make your vision come true?
It's not my vision, it's the vision of the government.
The vision of the government.
Implementing the vision. It's a vision of Aruba, and it's the vision of the people of Aruba who is carrying this vision. And together we have made this vision for the coming years, and we think we are going into the right direction. But the most challenging is to realize the plans and to execute them. I mean, it's very difficult. It's easy to make plans and visions, but to execute them is not that easy. You need money, you need people with knowledge, you need contractors, good contractors, and then you need to execute them. So the biggest challenge is to have everybody focus on the projects and implement them. So keep them on track, control quality, deliver at time. So that's the biggest challenge. But I think for us in Aruba, we have a good team, we have a vision, and everybody stands behind this vision, and that's why it's make it easier compared to other countries. But that's the biggest challenge, keep everybody on track.
All right. And Dan, how would you see your role in helping us in this team setting?
Well, I'm answering it the same as you did. I'm not helping. We're doing this together. What I think is interesting is this notion. We addressed it, I think, yesterday, of the super local. That you have a relatively small island with a small community, but with an incredible power and energy to rethink the future or to rethink today. So Aruba as a sort of hub within the city itself, but also in relationship to Latin America. I think that's incredibly smart. And that sort of inspires me a lot to do things here as a non-local. So I think that's where the magic lays. Yeah.
Spectacular. Anne, we've seen that you have had different experiences with the different buildings. What do you see the role of buildings, the monuments, in this whole aspect of the urban renewal?
Is it on? No.
Yes.
The role of monuments is very clear to me. It's part of our history, of our culture here. And in raising public awareness, the value, not economic value, maybe also economic value, but in first place, the emotional value, cultural value has to be raised. As soon as we do that, you get certain focal points in the city when you restore the most crucial buildings. And they're not always the most beautiful ones or the ones that we see every day, but they could be the small house on the corner or some place that's left behind, as Glenn was illustrating. We have lots of forgotten places which are right into downtown Oranjestad or San Nicolas, which we should enlighten, but also restore and give new life. Secondly, I think that we need to combine functions. As Galina was saying earlier, we should not only restore a building to get a restaurant into it or an office, but we should also get people to live in monuments again. And we have some beautiful examples all over the world where monuments are restored to be made houses, maybe even social housing, and give new life back to the city. Because otherwise you get some kind of Disney World-like restored things. So when looking at city renewal, I think monuments play the role in showing that it can be done and that it can get new life into the position. And the role of the fund is to get the funding in the first place. Then economic value will go up, we won't be able to pay anymore, and then we invite investors to come in and do the rest. And that works in Amsterdam, that works in several places where we have city renewal, and we steal ideas from them.
Thanks so much. Arjan, next question. Urban areas, I've seen your beautiful Kaswoningen today, very inspiring, and I think that we certainly have to start getting one of those here as soon as possible. How would you see this in relationship to urban areas? You spoke about Potsjekieten, of course, but a place like Oranjestad. And do you think this is compatible with, for example, what Anne is doing with the strategic planning, programming of the monuments?
I think the quality could be that if you make social housing and combine it with this kind of greenhouses, you could have more work, more production, other ways of sustainability than only energy reduction. And that could make a better mix in the city. Could, what also is talked about this afternoon, could be a better combination between work, living, housing, offices.
All right. Glenn.
Yes.
Oh, you have a mic. Look,
Yes, I have
that's
one.
great.
Personal one.
I have to say, Glenn, I really enjoyed. We went with our speakers. We went to at night. Glenn brought us through Oranienstad, and it was really an eye-opening again, because obviously we go usually during the day.
I enlightened you.
Sorry?
I enlightened you.
You yes, certainly you did. In the day we walk around and we look at clinkers and reparations, and usually people are working. So at night, I remember we were walking the Zuidstraat and people were sitting in their porches and they were like, "Hi, Bonoci," and it was such an incredible experience. How do you think you can mix what you have, the light route that you're talking about? How can you do that? And what are your proposals for the relationship with these people?
Yes, I think that's a good question. Of course, you have to balance this. And this is why I think it's good that I'm here, and Dana's here, and you're here. You have to look carefully at this. You know, the right balance between this story, this entertainment, this excitement, and the people who live there. But you know, with the right translation, not too much, not too little, you can find the right balance. This spot where we have this people, you know, you saw these little old houses. Those people really live there. They sit outside. You haven't seen it, but they saw. And you were also, we last year when you were here, I showed you this spot. And I think, and that's design work. That is the right solution for the right spot. But that's not that difficult.
All right.
It's like what I noticed is this obsession with light and carnival, which I was happy to experience here. So in a way, it's sort of the idea, if you take that evening, but you spread it around through all the days of the year, how will your city look like then?
Yeah.
And I think that's what I sort of like, this notion of local and the notion of light and social interaction, but then not just as an event, but on a nightly base. I think that's the quality. Yeah.
All right. Okay, so I would really want someone to go up with their hands and help us with a question.
No?
Oh, yes. Michelle, please walk around. Exactly. I will not give up. Someone will ask a question. Oh, Galina is back. Please join us, Galina. Please, a round of applause, please.
So we have a question here. What's your name?
Rita Rahman. My question is, I would like to know, because I understood quite well when we had a presentation of the historical buildings, but all of you are in a process of renewing and in a sense creating a total new atmosphere in the country also. And my question is, do you all relate to the history, and do you try to, how do they say it? Because the history is where you start when you move forward to remain with your feet in the ground. And I just want to know if all of you take history as part of your process also.
Anna, yes, you can start with this, with the answer of this.
No, of course, we need to respect history, but to respect history, you first have to get to know it. And what I found out, and for me, everything is new because I'm new to Aruba, but I found out that lots of history is also forgotten, and it's in the bigger sense, big events, but also in really small details. Any of you from Aruba, do you know that at the Stadhuis, at the big terrace, just below it, the terrace was built from concrete, and the old boxes of the doctor who lived there, of his pharmacy boxes, were used. And if you go under that, you can see the advertisement of the medicine boxes pressed into the concrete. It's a beautiful spot. Nobody sees it except for the trawlers who sometimes get there.
Light route alert, light route alert.
Yeah, we're going to talk. So, so you have to know history, not the big lines, but also the smaller parts. did you know where the first goldsmith of Aruba was housed? No, you don't. The building is there. It's restored. It's beautiful. We have to get those stories out. And then to create new history. And what you say about getting a new culture or new vibe in here, I think we need to get not a completely new culture, but we have to base it on what is. And the biggest challenge is to get tourists in and visitors in. That's a big challenge, but the bigger challenge is to, as you said, balance it and not getting overwhelmed, because what we're doing is getting something really beautiful, and we don't want in a city of 25,000 people, 100,000 people coming in and becoming like a museum. That's the other part of it.
Yeah.
So we have to explain, we have to educate, not getting it into a museum, and that's a very delicate discussion, and we should try and formulate some of the,
It's important, like
policy
if
about that.
if I might to give a local perspective, like an Aruban perspective to say that way, for me this whole renewal process has been a complete, ginormous discovery process, because my generation at least, we didn't get Aruban history. We got a lot of things except the Aruban history, and it's all around us. And I've gotten to, learn so much and see so much of the value that we actually have, so much of the richness, literally richness, cultural and historical that we have and that are still there. So as much as we're doing it as well for the tourists, we are doing it for ourselves. We are doing it for our kids. We are doing it so that we have a better understanding of where we come from, in order so we can do choices where we are going. Do we have any other questions?
I want to add a little bit of
sure.
this. For me as a designer, I think this is for Dan the same. This history, it's the base. We are not a blank sheet. Not even me. None of us. So this history we use as I use it as an inspiration. And Rafi did it in the linear park. He has the lines on the street, and I somehow made my own translation of it. It's in the tree grades of the main street. It will be in the litter bins of the main street. So this is a symbol of the history of Aruba. So, and then we talked about this foreign interference, this Disney World or this, and so if you use this history and own it, and change it and translate it into this time, you have your question.
I think in a way history is sort of frozen stories, and it is our job to sort of activate them again, and then
Yes,
it becomes
exactly.
interesting. Yeah.
Okay, Rafi, we have Deandra back here who has a question.
Yes, I wanted to know, in time of city renewal, how long it took, like for instance, Amsterdam to be renewed, and how long do you see Aruba's downtown or city to be renewed, and what time span are we talking about?
Minister Stievinger.
That's a difficult question. I mean, if you go to Amsterdam and you see they are doing the project, the Zuid-Noordas, or the the Zuidas. I mean, they're taking 15 years doing that. It's still not finished.
Yes, I know. That's why I asked, because
I
you're
mean,
supposed to have a...
in Aruba, the experience is that we want to start today and finish tomorrow. And that is impossible if you have to take into consideration all the infrastructure, for instance, beneath the surface, all the electrical, the plumbing, water, everything beneath the surface. And then you have to build above. People will see the part above, but they don't see the infrastructure below the surface. So it is all you design, you make a plan, and then you try to execute it in the time frame. But it's not always come as your plan, because downtown you break the road, and then you see that there is an electrical cable there that was not known is there. So you have to replace it. It takes a few days. So it's not an easy task.
And from the perspective of...
the deadline, there's no deadline. As long as people live, we're going to change. There's no deadline. So
but how long it took to Amsterdam to be renewed, like for instance the monuments, and because from their perspective, I asked my question.
I would say
the monuments.
all
decades.
the monuments.
Yes.
So
Anne, please give us this.
I can only make a guess, but the Stichting Stadsherstel Amsterdam, City Renewal Amsterdam, was founded in 1955. And if you look closer to home here, we look to Curaçao, and the Monuments Foundation was established some 50 years ago. 50 years ago. Our foundation is only 15 years, or 16, 17 years old now. So, but the scale of Aruba makes it possible that it could go very fast. As I showed you in the 4 stories, and I didn't tell you at that point, is that the moment that Rafi asked me to do the presentation, I chose the projects, put them into my presentation, and literally in the same weeks that I put the properties into the presentation, nobody saw it, but it kind of was in the air. I got phone calls from an architect here today saying I might have found someone who's interested in one of the buildings. In the same week, we presented California Lighthouse to the minister and agreed to start restoring it. And for all those 4, just last Saturday, we agreed on the Nicolas store in San Nicolas with the owners. It is happening, and because of the small scale and because of the planning that we could put onto it, we have 350 monuments, of which we have 30 protected at this moment. You can make a planning for that, and in my vision, it could be 5 to 10 years to do the larger part of that, because as soon as we show that it can be done, it will be easier to get investors from Aruba, but also from abroad, from the Americas, from Netherlands, from Europe, to see that it can be done. It will get a nice return, and development will go very fast. And that's what we saw in Amsterdam, but also in Curaçao. The moment you get the public awareness and you get the focus on it, it goes really, really fast.
And also,
you,
just
Deandra.
if I might, yes?
I interrupt.
Sure.
This
in Aruba, we will going to start Stadsherstel Aruba, renovation of the monument. Is not easy. As you see, monument costs more than build a new building. So you have to study the history. It takes a long process before you start renovating, and it costs more because you need to have the original material from that time or almost close to that time. But it is a very difficult that only government can do that. So government is doing its part, government is pushing, government has the vision to renovate all the monuments, but we need private partnership, and that's what we are doing. We have several meetings already with local entrepreneurs, local business people, to see what we can do. So we're going to have our Stadsherstel, NV, in Aruba, and there's a lot of interest in that. So people will buy a monument, restore it, and sell it, or rent it, or use it, I don't know. But we are working on that. And we went to Amsterdam, we spoke to the former president of the Stadsherstel Amsterdam to help us, and they agree that they will be in Aruba in the future to help us with the Stadsherstel Aruba. So we're working on that.
Yeah, Minister, this light tour, this is a catalyst. And so the idea is that the tour attracts other investors. So that not only monument funds or our government, we have to do it, but that because of the potential, that the potential becomes clear. That's so this is phrasing that. Yes, exactly. Yeah. That's why we do it.
Thank you very much, Glenn. But I think the takeaway here is, as you can see here, we have an incredible amount of knowledge that our government, and I have to be proud that it is our government and part of this team, we have a great team doing this. The very important thing as well that it's being done. When you see cities like Amsterdam and The Hague, they weren't just renovated from 1950 to 2000. They have been in a constant process of renovation and maintenance. So now Aruba with this vision is doing just that. We are being more conscious about what we have done, our history. We're going to care about it, care about our history, and make sure that in our modern way and in our future, we will be still able to recognize where we come from. I want to thank you all of our speakers today. Please, a warm hand of applause. Also, a very warm hand of applause to our traducers in the box. It's a very, very hard job. And to all of you, a big hand of applause for your attention today. Thank you very much.
Before you leave the ballroom this afternoon, I do have a couple of closing notes. I too want to add my thanks to all of you for actively participating in this session, most especially to our speakers for sharing with us and helping us to better understand the importance of all of what this conference means. You know, we're here to talk about bringing countries together, helping people to connect with each other in all these different individual and specialized ways. So we thank you for sharing all of that with us today. And of course, as Rafi said, as Rubens, we are very proud of our administration and their vision and the initiatives taken for our people. I just want to quickly review with you the paintings outside. I understand that painting number 1, that our Prime Minister, Mike Eman, actually assisted with that particular painting. So you may want to check it out and see if he was any good as a child in painting. And painting number 2 was corroborated on by our Minister of Social and Economic Affairs, Minister Michelle Huibur-Winkler. So you definitely want to take a look at paintings number 1 and 2. Raffle tickets are still being sold, and the drawing's going to be sometime tomorrow morning. As all of you know, we are wrapping up our Europe Meets the Americas conference tomorrow morning, and we have speakers tomorrow as well, and our Minister Michelle, as well as our Prime Minister Eman, will both be 2 of the 4 speakers tomorrow morning, so you do not want to miss that. The B2B meetings are continuous, so they're happening right now as we speak, and they will continue tomorrow between the hours of 8 and 5. And then lastly, the translation equipment, we do want to ask if you've used them to please leave them in the room. And we want you to enjoy your evening. And again, thank you for being part of Europe Meets the Americas. Have a good afternoon.